Hey, bro.
Hey, Amir. How are you doing?
Fine. How about you?
Good. I can hear your cat in the background. You'll probably hear mine
Yeah.
as well.
Ah, really? I can too.
She's very upset right now.
For me too. I don't know why yelling all the time.
Hey, we'll give it a few more minutes and we'll get started. If you're new, which I don't know if we have anybody new, you can add to the recurring topics and please add yourself to the attendance. Thank you, everyone. I think we can go ahead and get started. Michelle, you're the only one who can share your screen, I think. So if you want to share the screen, we can do that. Otherwise, it doesn't look like we have that much. I don't think we have anybody new, but good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you are. I think we can go ahead and move on to the open discussion. Patrick has a few things on here, but he's not here right now, so we can take a look at them. And if anybody else has anything, please add it to the list or speak up and can talk about it. Please go for it.
Hi.
Hey.
So my question is for Michelle.
Yeah, what's up?
I would like to know what's the process to add a build cluster to Proud, an external one. I know the tooling Proud, which is basically use GenCred, generate a cube config, and had that as a secret. But from employer perspective, are you allowed to basically do that? It's an async question, so you can follow up. We can follow up on Slack if you want. Like,
yeah, I think this is one of the things where I probably need to poke folks more directly on Prow, because I think they might have a better idea of what the policy is around that. But yeah, I think follow up after sounds great.
okay, I might try to ping Cole or Linus. I don't know.
Yeah, Cole or Linus, Chow's not directly on that anymore, but Chow may also know. But I think Cole or Linus are good people.
If
That
you
is
can
who I
ping
would be
them,
going.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you can ping them before I ping them on Slack, that would be great.
yeah, I have stand up after this usually, so I could go poke them there.
Yeah, because we got an EKS cluster. We want to plug that in Prow as soon as possible.
Yeah, if you have anything to link as well, feel free to send that to me and I can pass it on.
No, wait, I think I have the issue somewhere.
Cool.
What's the plan? To have mixed clusters for testing?
Yeah, so we want to expand the footprint for the build cluster.
Yeah, but
And
the thing
move.
is,
Yeah, the idea is like in the beginning, move all the pre-submit running against the KK repo on EKS. And later, and that's only pre-submit, that doesn't require it retest. Basically,
yeah, but why do we want to make it? Look, the experience that I have is as soon as you add something new, we are going to hit issues. So I don't think that we should start with the pre-submits in KK. We should start with something that is less important.
what do you mean less important?
Look, if we add this new pro job and something happens, we are going to block all the developers in Kubernetes, right?
Not necessarily, because we are not going in production right away. We're basically trying to establish to identify what are the blockers to move specific pro jobs to AKS. Like how disk pressure, storage exhaustions, like CPU memory, those kind of things. We are not saying, oh, we plug an EKS cluster and we go in production right away. The idea is to we need to plug it because we have just one control plane and have canary jobs on that build cluster, and we try to identify. And we also need to communicate to the community that we're doing that, so flakiness is expected.
Yeah, but I mean, flakiness is expected, but we shouldn't do it with KK. We have tons of projects that can serve as canary.
Yeah, but we only have GKE. We only have GKE to support all the pro jobs. And if we move the rest of the pro job inside the Google infrastructure to us, we're going to have a cost problem because.
No, I'm not saying that. No, generally. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have EKS on pre-submit. What I'm saying is that we should have a rollout strategy, right? And EKS, the first canary shouldn't be KK, is what I'm saying. Absolutely,
Yeah,
that
so
we should have. I mean, no, you got it wrong, or I didn't clarify. We should have no dependency, and ideally we should be able to plug clusters from everywhere. What I'm saying is, if we are going to plug this cluster, we can start with periodics or with pre-summits in this side projects, and when we have some soak time, we say, well, this is ready for going for Kubernetes. But as first thing, adding to the KK, I think that is very risky.
Yeah, I think rollout strategy is not established because we didn't do a full inventory of all the projects we want to migrate. But ultimately, we need to plug AKS, and that's my first goal here. I first want to plug AKS to the Proud control plane, And later, I'm gonna reach out to SIG testing and other SIG to basically identify which pro job we want to migrate. We don't have to migrate everything, but we need to establish a list of jobs we need to
Cool.
migrate.
Then we are in sync. Yeah, I thought that you wanted to add this new cluster for KKS 13, so that's why I was scared because.
No, we need to be able to plug that EKS cluster and trying to have canary job running there from the control plane.
Right, that's
Doesn't have to
absolutely-
be pre-summit, doesn't have to be post-summit, only periodic. I think we can just have periodic running there, not
Yeah,
blocking.
no. Look, we should add everything. But what I wanted to say is we should not add Kubernetes as the first thing because then it's very painful. I don't know how many PRs. Sorry for not being clear at the upfront. Sorry.
Okay, I see Patrick in the call, so I think that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you guys. And Patrick, we can circle back around to you. I did
Yeah.
replace your second link because I think it was just a duplicate.
It is. And the first one actually got merged. The second one was a fix for it. And then the third one, the one that is currently pending, is in Kubernetes. Let me just get you the link. It's very, the subject is very Golang lint. I can update the document later. Or
I think it was
paste it
that
in
one
the
I just added.
yeah, I think that's the one. 702. That looks right. Yep, that's the one. So current status is that I think middle of last year I proposed to strengthen our linting of pull requests. It would be stronger than what we enforce for existing code, but that makes sense because new code might have a higher might have to meet a higher quality bar. And we do have additional tools that we just can't apply to the current code base merely because there are so many things in it that just weren't found when adding the code. The current status is that we could merge this one pending Kubernetes PR. And then there is a shell script that users can run to check their own code that they are currently writing. And in a pull request, there is a new job that explicitly needs to be started with a /test command, and then it will run additional tests against the new code in a PR. So this Kubernetes PR that currently needs a reviewer. I think Antonio looked at it a while back. And this is now ready for merging. The next step, and that's where help would be needed, would be to make the user experience nicer. So currently what happens is, say a developer or a reviewer remembers to start the job, then there is a failed brow job. The contributor needs to look into the text output of that job to figure out which code lines need to be updated. And that's all less convenient than in other repositories where a GitHub action executes that and directly posts the result to the patch view in GitHub. We can't do that in Kubernetes, or not easily, because we need to run this check in brow. A GitHub action doesn't work that well because it would interact poorly with the merge robot. And there is an issue open about supporting GitHub annotations from brow, but it hasn't made much progress. So if someone wants to do some useful work here, there was a volunteer who signed up for it, KubeCon Europe last year, but he just hasn't had the time. So this test infra issue, the last one, 17056, is up for someone to work on.
That might have changed, but I believe originally the issue was you had to be a GitHub app to use that API. And that's a more involved change to Pro.
Okay, well, whatever the solution is, I think the latest information, the latest design was that in Pro we just write some text files. Those get archived as artifacts, and then some post-processing of the result. The same one that posts comments on the PR would also look at these text files and update GitHub. I think that was the latest status on how we wanted to solve that. Whether if there's now a different solution, that would be fine, of course, too.
Yep. Patrick, are you referring to the check API? Because if that's the case, that's a rough starter issue. Migrating to a GitHub app is going to require
no
on the running side.
not at all. I was referring just to where we run Golang CI lint. So currently it runs as part of pull Kubernetes verify, and if we keep it like that, we would just produce additional artifacts from that verify run, and those results somehow need to get into GitHub annotations. So it's currently fairly easy to write additional artifacts files. It's just that they will be sitting there in the artifacts folder of that failed brow job, and nothing will happen with them. That's the missing part. Well, I guess unless we have a volunteer to work on that, it will just, well, we'll just keep that issue open. We can move forward. I think we could move forward with this Kubernetes pull request. I hope that's just a matter of approving it now. And then I can send an email to the Kubernetes dev mailing list about announcing that this functionality is now available. People can try it out, and if it makes sense, we can gradually run this job more often. Say currently it's opt-in. We could make it so that it always runs. Then we could make it merge blocking depending on what the experience is.
So one thing that we've done before is just fold lints into verify and add a mechanism to permit certain failures incrementally and ratchet it. Have we considered like making the default verify lint run more linters and then filtering the output? I think Golang CI lint puts like what linter failed.
Yeah. Yes. So you could do that. The question, so Golang CI lint can suppress issues, but then the question is how do people know that it failed if it doesn't cause a job failure?
Well, so what we've done in other places is we've captured the output in the shell wrapper, and then if it's for files that we know are not yet, like they're either in an allow list or a deny list, we compute if we want to fail or not. So like when we've started enforcing shell check, it was not possible to get it to pass on the whole repo. So we just had a list of like known shell check failure files. And then if your file wasn't in the list of known not yet fixed files, then we failed, and not by matching the output.
You could all do all of that with Golang CI lint. In the config, you can specify suppress an error in certain files. But I don't think we want that. I think what we want is the same.
But we still print the error. We just don't exit non-zero.
You could also do that with Golang CI lint in the config. You can change the severity of an error to informational. I think
can you do that per directory or something?
You can do that per directory.
Because I think we might want to consider something like that. It's cheaper to run Golang CI lint once, and people will actually look at the verify output, and we get by pretty well without bot comments with that. And then what we do is we ask people to work on cutting down the exclusion list, and new code won't be in the excluded list.
But I'm not sure how that helps in the pull request. So suppose someone writes new code
Yeah.
And the new code doesn't pass the stricter linting tests.
Yes.
What would be the experience in the pull request?
So like with
the
shell
verify
check,
script would pass, right?
no, it fails on new files is how we set it up before. So when we've incrementally
Okay,
ratcheted linters
yeah, but
before,
okay, that doesn't really help, because say if someone adds a new test to E2E test to an existing file, with the setup that
Well,
I've
there's two things that happen.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
totally new files are not permitted to fail the new linters. Existing files that are known to fail are permitted until they're removed from the exclusion list. And then we ask people to work on removing them from the exclusion list.
Yeah.
Over time, you don't have files in the exclusion list, and then new code in those files also can't.
Yeah. So the current mechanism is more intelligent than that. You can't add new chunks. A new function to an existing file must pass the linter checks.
Okay.
And that works without configuration changes. It looks at the base hash and automatically figures out which code is new and only reports issues in modified lines.
Is it smart enough to do that locally, or am I only going to get those results if on CI?
The script that I have is intelligent enough that you can do that yourself locally. There is the verify Golang CI lint sh script has a -a parameter for automatic, and that looks at your current branch and reports the strict. You can say -a -s, and it will check your local branch with the strict configuration. And that's the same thing that would happen in the CI.
I'll just point out two things, and then Michelle's had her hand up.
Yeah,
I think we want an exit strategy to where we don't need to run both of these, and we just have standardized on new lints. I'm also just, with my Kate Semper hat on, I'm not excited to add another pre-submit that has to independently run over all of the code. We are trying to remove pre-submits because they're expensive. They run on every push. And I'm not sure what we've allocated this one, but typically Golang CI lint, just with our huge amount of code, has actually, like, we're running that and verify with a full like CI node.
If we think that this new functionality is ready to be applied in a mandatory way for all pull requests, then it can run as part of pull Kubernetes verify. The same way that I just described. It would be a new verify script that runs Golang CI lint again with a different configuration, but it would be in the same pull Kubernetes verify.
Okay.
And it would use the cached results. That's the other beauty of Golang CI lint. It caches the previous analysis results. So the second run would be fairly fast.
I think we want to do that. Another option you have is we can make it not default under the make verify command, but if we're not quite ready yet, but we can have CI run it there, and we can code it to be, we can in the script logic, we can make it like optional until we're ready to make it required.
Okay.
Which we might just be ready to now, but I'm going to stop talking now and let Michelle.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm nearly as important of a point. The only thing I was thinking in terms of reporting is that I know Prow has the /lint command, which is obviously not the same as this, but I'm wondering if there's like a way to reshape that or maybe add some additional functionality that would fit in here. /lint like needs to be triggered manually, but I think because it is like a Prow command, does report the results of that to a comment on the PR.
Yeah, /lint is kind of a broken approach. The problem with /lint is it actually runs in the webhook process. So for security reasons, then we're like not worried about like letting arbitrary code inside of a Prow job comment back with the official Prow account, which could be disastrous.
Right.
Actually, as is, if you had like new linters, I could like sneak some code in a linter that made it do things. But the real problem is it's using the Go version that was built to compile the webhook and not the Go version under test. and all or like the lint tools and things. You really want to control the version of your linter in the repo so you can like roll forward and fix changes. I think that's the main reason we don't see much adoption of it. It skews versus what you're actually trying to test. And I actually kind of think maybe we should remove that plugin. I don't think it's very effective, and
Yeah.
it's expensive to. It's one of the most expensive things that you can trigger in a comment.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, like,
'Cause
in that
it
case,
has to like clone the code and then like run golint over it in process. And most projects are using Golang CI lint instead anyhow.
okay. Yeah, so actually, if there's a better experience for what Patrick's been suggesting with the changes to the lint job, that actually sounds preferable.
I mean, the nice thing about the lint command is that it annotates your PR.
Right. But it sounds like that's the main advantage.
Yeah, and we can have like a secondary account or something do this. I think we should probably make that a like enhancement to linting that doesn't block enabling ratcheting the lint. And we've done that before. It sounds like we have a couple of options for that.
Cool.
I think we've actually had relatively good experience even with the pretty dumb approach where we're just like grepping against the output versus a like permission list. It has the biggest problem we've run into there is if you get a lot of people trying to fix it, then you have merge conflicts on the list.
Okay, so do we have a conclusion that we move forward with a separate job for now, give it a few, I don't know, weeks or so, and gather feedback and then decide whether we want to move it to pull Kubernetes verify?
This sounds reasonable enough to move into verify as soon as we can confirm that it's working, honestly.
Yeah, sure. That's the feedback part, yeah. But I posted some examples in that open pull request, and I have another pull request open that intentionally will fail the linting. So we can use those as test cases, and we can wait for other people to try it out and give us feedback.
I guess the other question becomes, so you're enabling a new set of linters now against new code. I haven't dug into how you configure this. Will this work if we say I want to say Golang CI lint adds another linter and I want to add that one? Do we need a third target, or can we add it to this one and that one? Like there's different sets of isn't new code.
There's one set of additional linters compared to existing code, and that's in the config file Golang CI strict YAML. The current set is the default linters in Golang CI lint.
Yeah.
Plus the one that we have explicitly enabled for existing code.
How do we move things from being a totally new linter after we've rolled this out eventually to being required for everything?
A new linter would need to be added to that config file, and it would have to pass all new code immediately. I guess otherwise we can't add it there. If we get into the situation that we want to roll out a new linter, we basically would need to first fix existing code, I suppose, and then add it, and then say we are confident enough that this linter works that we enforce it immediately. I don't think there is any kind of transition period where we can make it optional, not without another make target or job.
Okay, because the thing that I think I'm missing here is, so like when we roll out shell check and we had the just exclusion list file, by doing that, eventually we got to a state where all new code and all existing code always requires this to pass. It sounds like we have a way to require all net new changes past this, but it not necessarily an easy path towards, okay, we've been fixing code and now it's going to be
Actually,
required for the
actually, I
code we
think there
already
is.
fixed?
I think there is. I think what I mentioned earlier about changing the severity of a check or of an issue should get around that.
Yeah, but who's going to change that? Because having the list of we know all these things are failing, then you just tell people like cut down the list and we get there. I'm not saying we need to do that, but I'm not sure what's the forcing function, like the equivalent forcing function here to stop permitting it in existing files.
It's per file and per issue. So you
Uh-huh.
basically can have a wildcard for, say, this directory tree needs to pass.
So are we going to have
And-
people start adding to a list of these are known to be fixed?
We could do that by editing the config.
Okay. I think I would still suggest, I think it may be easier to get people to cut down a list of exceptions, even if it's large initially, because then you're driving it towards 0 versus like an ever expanding set of required files. And because also then you have to convince people to add that. Whereas the other thing that we did that I'm recalling now, we could do the inverse of this, but I think the missing part that I forgot to mention is, so in the linters where we've had the exception file, we also, if we discover that a file is now passing, we require you to remove it from the exception file. And we tell approvers you shouldn't be permitting adding things to the exception file. Like it would have to be pretty unusual circumstances to permit that. So every time you file a PR, if you like delete some code and now that was the offending code and now that file is passing, the like lint script notices that file no longer has any failures, but it's in the like known failing list, and you have to remove it from the known failing list so new failures can't be introduced.
Yeah, I
That
don't
should
think
be-
we don't have a mechanism like that, finding config files that are stale and need to be removed. I guess that would require some additional wrapping around Golang CI-lint to find those.
I don't
files.
know that this needs to block, but I think you should consider how we drive towards the state of like it's a default lint.
Okay. Yeah, I
That-
guess the ask for the community then would indeed be to run the strict config against existing code and submitting PRs for certain regions to fix issues that they find this way.
It could run as a periodic too, right? Basically like a long-term thing that does check for exclusions in the exclusions with the stricter linters in the entire code base, and then like also
But
can report.
We don't even need the exclusion list, to be honest. I think it's enough that we have a way to force new code to not add things. And then we can have a periodic job that just posts known issues. People can look at that list or run it locally and
Right.
act on that. Yeah. And then over time, as we update code or as people submit PRs to fix lint issues, we will come to a state where some things automatically will not have those issues anymore. And we just need to tell people that, yeah, that we are taking this serious and we are welcoming patches to fix these issues, and then people will start working on it, I suppose.
I guess the exit state then is once people have, since we're not permitting it in diffs, and we would ask people to go make diffs to fix it, at some point we notice that if you ran the tool, there is no old code with it, and we just add it to the default job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds a little trickier to ensure happens, but if we write up an issue outlining how to do it, I bet we can get there and like do one for each of the linters.
this sounds like good like initial contributions too. So hopefully that would be
Yeah,
nice for folks.
my experience is that people jump on these kind of things. We just need to make sure that they do it properly. But some of these things are fairly easy. It's go send it, or some of the linters give you sometimes even the exact code that needs to be applied. There's even a Golang CI lint fix option that unfortunately doesn't work for all issues or all kinds of code changes. But yeah, some things are fairly low-hanging fruits to fix if we just agree that, yes, we want those PRs. The main problem that I've had in the past with wanting people to do things is that we had no mechanism to enforce it for new code. So I've had some open issues against the E2E testing where it said this is a bad pattern, let's remove it. And then people start fixing something, and then new people not aware of this guideline added it in other tests. So it was another never-ending battle against updating codes. With this proposal here, we are making sure that the new rules get enforced, and then gradually we can get enforced for new code automatically, and we can gradually fix your existing code.
I think we have a good approach here. Let's test your test drive, make sure it's working, and then let's get this running and verify.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you for working on this.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Okay, I think, Patrick, you may also still need a volunteer for one of those issues if that is something that we still want to pursue. But that looks like it's the end of our discussion. If anybody has anything else, please speak up or hold your peace, and I'm going to go eat lunch. Well, that sounds good to me. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon or night.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks all.